everyone, and welcome to this explainer. If you've ever wondered how a developing nation actually pulls off the ultimate pivot, going from a low-level manufacturer to a high-tech global powerhouse, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're unpacking a really bold roadmap proposed by TiMi. It's a plan that literally has the potential to completely transform Vietnam's technological standing on the world stage. We're talking about finally moving beyond those basic assembly lines and diving headfirst into the incredibly complex world of advanced antenna technology for 5G, 6G, and the Internet of Things. To really set the tone, I want to share this quote from Dr. David Nghiem, the CEO of TMA. He says, "The decision stems from a long-term strategic vision and deep belief in the potential of the Vietnamese people." And honestly, that really captures what this explainer is all about. This proposal isn't just about constructing some new factories or importing fancy parts. At its core, it's about unlocking human potential to build a global core technology hub completely from scratch. So how exactly do they plan to do this? Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the core technology vision. Second, the import solution. Third, market creation. Fourth, nurturing experts. And finally, we'll break down the 5-year roadmap. All right, let's jump right into part 1, the core technology vision. Right now, Vietnam is standing at a major crossroads. On one side, you have their current state, which is heavily reliant on low-level hardware assembly and outsourcing. It's a really common trap that developing nations fall into, right? Where they're physically building the tech, but they don't actually own the ideas behind it. On the other side is TMA's proposed future goal, actually owning that core technology and mastering antenna design for 5G, 6G, and IoT. The big takeaway here is that they want to leapfrog up the global value chain. Instead of just assembling parts designed by someone else, the vision is to be the ones designing the essential components that make global communication possible in the first place. To actually make that massive leap, TMA uses a great guiding metaphor, xây nhà từ móng, which translates to building from the foundation. And the heart of this new design center isn't just a room full of computers. It is a physical, international standard R&D lab featuring an anechoic chamber. See, real, tangible innovation in the microwave and telecom space requires world-class testing environments. You can't just rely on computer simulations for this stuff. You absolutely have to physically test these complex antennas in a space completely isolated from electromagnetic interference. Which brings us to part 2, the import solution. Okay, so before a single antenna can even be tested, this project has to overcome a mountain of bureaucratic red tape. Building this world-class lab requires some seriously sensitive R&D equipment. We're talking vector network analyzers, spectrum analyzers, signal generators, and oscilloscopes. These are not your everyday consumer electronics. These are incredibly sophisticated, highly expensive devices that are only produced by a handful of top-tier nations. So figuring out how to get these specialized tools into the country efficiently is actually the very first massive hurdle this roadmap identifies. Which brings up a really vital question. Why would a seemingly standard 3-month administrative delay completely ruin R&D? Well, think about it. In the fast-paced world of deep tech, global innovation cycles are moving at lightning speed. If a research team has to sit around waiting 3 months for customs permits, import licenses, and mandatory calibration checks just for a single test component, the technology they're trying to test might already be obsolete by the time it finally hits their lab bench. A slow, outdated administrative procedure literally strips domestic engineers of their agility, and agility is basically their biggest competitive advantage. So what is Dr. Nghiem's proposed fix for this? It's something called the Green Channel, or Luong Sai. This is a proposed special administrative mechanism. The core idea is simple but powerful. Prioritize post-customs inspection and drastically simplify the procedures specifically for non-commercial R&D equipment. Neutrally speaking, this policy request is purely designed to untie the hands of local engineers. By clearing all those administrative roadblocks up front, the lab can maintain that critical speed advantage they absolutely need to compete with global tech giants. Moving right along to Section 3, market creation. When it comes to surviving the domestic market, TMA proposes a very specific economic concept, market creation. Now, it's really important to distinguish this from blind protectionism. In the deep tech sector, early-stage startups face a completely brutal reality. They are going head-to-head against multinational monopolies that have massive capital, decades of experience, and highly optimized supply chains. Those global giants can easily just engage in price dumping to crush any new local competition.
So, market creation acts as a temporary life jacket for these domestic startups. It ensures they don't just immediately drown in the open market before they've even learned how to swim. But obviously, a life jacket is only meant to be temporary, right? The phase-out strategy is designed to make sure this policy doesn't just create a culture of lazy reliance. Step 1 involves priority usage by state telcos, which creates an initial cash flow and provides real-world testing environments. Step 2 enforces strict KPIs and quality checks, meaning these domestic products still have to be genuinely excellent and improve fast. And finally, step 3 is the complete removal of that protection, pushing the center out into the open to compete on the global stage purely on merit. So it's a highly structured path from early incubation to full-blown international competition.
All right, let's look at Section 4, Nurturing Experts. So, how exactly will Vietnam acquire the brain trust needed for all of this? The answer is their Real Combat Academy approach. It's a very holistic mentorship strategy. 40% of it relies on direct U.S. mentorship, meaning you have top engineers from developed nations working shoulder to shoulder on live projects with local talent. 30% focuses on advanced 3D simulation training, and the final 30% is dedicated to university scholarships and lab internships. Now, as the source material notes, Vietnamese engineers already possess exceptionally strong mathematical logic. This specific breakdown is designed to bridge the gap between that strong theoretical foundation and world-class practical application, with the ultimate goal of producing fully independent global experts in just 3 to 5 years.
And finally, Section 5, the 5-year roadmap.
So if the import policies are adapted, the market is successfully created, and the training works out, what does this timeline actually look like? Well, year 1 is all about the foundation, getting that lab fully set up, training the first 50 core engineers, and designing initial Wi-Fi and RFID antennas. Then, moving into years 2 and 3, the center pivots to domestic commercial supply, designing 5G and IoT antennas for local telecom partners. And then, the massive leap happens in years 4 and 5. This is where the center transforms into a global export hub, sending high-end antenna designs and products to some of the absolute strictest markets in the world, like the US, Europe, and Japan. It is a complete paradigm shift from being a technology consumer to a high-tech global exporter. But to truly understand the gravity of this plan, we have to zoom out and look at the broader geopolitical reality. Vietnam is not operating in a vacuum here. Competing nations like India, Malaysia, and Thailand are actively rolling out the red carpets for high-tech R&D right now as we speak. They are offering highly flexible administrative mechanisms specifically to attract this exact kind of deep tech investment. The global supply chain is actively shifting, and the window of opportunity to capture this specific market is incredibly narrow. Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for this explainer. Will Vietnam successfully break down its administrative barriers to catch this high-tech train, or will it remain stuck in the low-level outsourcing trap? The capital is ready, the human potential is clearly there, and the roadmap is decisively laid out. Ultimately, all comes down to whether strategic policy decisions can actually move at the speed of global innovation.